doesn't love Bigfoot? Or how about the Loch Ness Monster? Or our old pal Mothman? Are they real? Who cares? Because they're real to me. I have been obsessed with cryptids like these guys since I was a little kid, and honestly, that obsession just kind of grows as I grow older. I've been to this Bigfoot conference. I've made a pilgrimage to Point Pleasant and explored the TNT site at night just to really get the vibe. I have read, watched, and listened to an enormous amount of cryptid content, always sitting on the fence between a skeptic and a believer. But even I've never heard of the Snallygaster from Frederick County, Maryland. That's right, I hate to be the one to break it to you, but not all cryptids are created equally. For every Sasquatch, you get a big muddy monster. For every Chupacabra, you get a bunny man. So today, we're gonna venture past the unknown and get to the really unknown as we look at some of the loser cryptids that no one really cares about. But first, if you like the video, consider leaving a like, and if you want to see more of this kind of stuff, consider subscribing. Also, thanks for just watching. I appreciate it. Okay, so what is this Snallygaster thing? In the 1730s, German immigrants fled to northern Maryland, where they were unfortunate enough to encounter a terrifying beast stalking their villages by night. The Schnellergeist, meaning quick ghost in German, was some kind of lizard bird hybrid thing that sometimes had tentacles and sucked blood from people. This bedtime story just kind of died out over time until suddenly in 1909 when newspaper reports of the Snallygaster began appearing all over Frederick County, Maryland. This creature was described as having enormous wings, a long pointed bill, claws like steel hooks, and an eye at the center of its head. It was also claimed that it screamed or screeched like a locomotive whistle. These reports caused the Smithsonian Institute to put out a reward for the creature's hide, and almost caused then-President Theodore Roosevelt to postpone his hunting trip to Africa in favor of tracking this New England fiend. Then it was revealed that the whole thing was a hoax from a local newspaper trying to drive readership and piggyback off of the much more popular Jersey Devil that was first spotted literally weeks before in New Jersey. Fast forward 100 years, and the Jersey Devil has an X-Files episode and a hockey team named after it, and the Snallygaster's called the Snallygaster, so... The Fresno Nightcrawler is a shy cryptid, only seen a handful of times so far. Thankfully, the first time it was spotted was via CCTV footage in 2008, which means we have some footage to examine. Yeah. I'm not sure if that's a sentient pair of pants, a giant living wishbone, or just a kid in a bathrobe. But hold your judgment, because there's more. This footage is supposedly from a trail cam in Yosemite National Park on some unknown date showing two Nightcrawler figures. Now, it's totally apparent to me, an expert, that neither of these are just poorly done obvious hoaxes. The first one comes from the highly reputable source of some random guy who can't find the original footage and recorded it from his CRT TV into his home video camera to begin with. At this point, we're so far from the original source material, with multiple digitizations and re-uploads, that it's kind of just impossible to tell what we're looking at. And that second one just looks like dudes on stilts. Rock solid evidence. And that is it in the way of evidence for the Fresno Nightcrawler. But that's more than enough for the cryptid community, who has gone ahead and made him into some weird little niche mascot. And after seeing some of the fan art, I guess I kind of get it. And now, for a lightning round. The Bunny Man is either a dude who dressed as a rabbit and harassed people in Fairfax, Virginia in the 1970s, or he's a science experiment gone wrong, a hybrid between man and rabbit. An abomination stalking the forests of Northern Virginia, hunting for human flesh. Take your pick. The Michigan Dogman is a 7-foot-tall bipedal dog with a howl that sounds eerily like a human yelling. He also has a theme song.
In 67, a van load of hippies told a park ranger named Quinlan they'd been awakened in the night by a scratch at the window. There was a dogman looking in and grinning.
The Ohio Grassman is just a Bigfoot that wants to differentiate itself, and it gets deducted points for being from Ohio, so into the garbage with this guy. The Beast of Bray Road has by far the coolest name of all of these cryptids, but it's really just the Dogman when he wanders over into Wisconsin. To keep things moving, literally every large body of water on the planet claims to have some kind of monster living in it. We got Bessie in Lake Erie, Blue Dilly in Lake Dillon, the Brosno Dragon, the Devil Whale of Lake Totah, Harry the Eel Pig, Slimy Slim. The list is extensive. There are a couple of outliers I want to go through though. The first being the Oklahoma Octopus. While most lake monsters are some variation of like an eel, snake, dinosaur thing like in Loch Ness, Oklahoma decided it has a giant octopus living in multiple man-made lakes within the state. Now, there's never been any video evidence, or actually any evidence at all, for a giant octopus, and a cephalopod would have to drastically alter its physiology to actually survive in freshwater, but these lakes are claimed to have a higher drowning rate than normal, which clearly means there's a giant octopus. Also, Newfoundland has some pond called Dildo Pond, and of course there's a report of a dildo monster. Lightning round? Over. I'm not sure if this next one actually counts as a cryptid or not, but here it goes. Gef the Talking Mongoose was a talking mongoose who lived in a farmhouse on the Isle of Man in the 1930s. Okay, so the Irving family owned a farm with a farmhouse where in 1931 they met Gef, who claimed to be an extra clever mongoose from New Delhi, India. Supposedly, he guarded the Irvings' home, alerted them of guests, chased away mice, woke them up when they overslept. I guess he was like a guard dog butler guy. For some reason, this story picked up traction. Probably because the Great Depression left people with literally nothing else to get excited about. But paranormal investigators and the general public became really fascinated. There was, of course, never any evidence, so eventually people just started assuming it was a hoax. Although one parapsychologist came up with a theory that Gef was actually a split personality from James Irving, the patriarch of the family. Gef communicated almost exclusively through the walls of the house, and it was discovered after investigating that one could throw their voice through the entire house by speaking into said walls. So that's probably the explanation. Eventually, James would die, and his wife Margaret and daughter Voiri, that can't be how you say that. His wife Margaret and their kid would sell the house at a loss because of its haunted status. Before the daughter died in 2005, she would definitively reaffirm that she fully believed in Gef the Talking Mongoose. So, who knows? In 1955, a traveling salesman was driving down a dark Ohio road late at night when his headlights illuminated three figures through the fog. They stood about a meter in height, like small humans, but clearly they were something else. That salesman encountered the Loveland Frog, or frogs in this case. Yeah, Ohio has a bipedal frog cryptid, and this is the image Wikipedia has for it. The Loveland Frog, or Frogman, is just such a loser cryptid that honestly, it kind of wraps around back to being pretty dope. The original sighting didn't really describe exact frog people, but that's just kind of what cryptid pop culture has turned them into. Like, it's just fun to imagine Frog and Toad hopping around in a suburb of Cincinnati. And that's like all there is to the story too. Like, there were some cops who killed a tailless iguana in the area in the 1970s, but it's not like that would explain anything about the 50s sighting anyway. So really, this is just the story of little frog guys hopping around Ohio, and I don't know. That's putting a smile on my face. And I think that's a good note to end things on. If you know any obscure cryptids or just urban legend kind of stuff from wherever you live, please let me know in the comments below. I really like learning about just really region-specific kind of stuff like this. It tends to say a lot about the culture from where it comes from and the people who tell those kind of stories. Other than that,
subscribe or the Bunny Man will haunt you in your dreams tonight.